Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today is Sunday, November 25th, 2018, and we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential electoral map as it stands today. So this is against no particular Democrat. There will be toss-up states, and overall we're just going to be rating each individual state in terms of how solid it will be for every particular margin. So for example, we're going to take a state like Nevada, and we're going to rate it exactly how a generic Democrat would do against Donald Trump. Or Donald Trump would do against a generic Democrat. Really doesn't matter. Just we're going to be discussing the margins for each individual state and why they are going in such a favor of either side or going into the pure toss-up column. So on your screen is the expanding battleground map that favors the Democratic Party. Right now, they have 218 electoral votes in their column, whereas Donald Trump only has 149. That leaves 171 contested electoral votes. Some states that might jump out to you, Iowa and Ohio, are already in the Trump column, whereas states like North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and Arizona, all states that voted for Mitt Romney over Barack Obama in 2012, whereas Ohio and Iowa went to Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012. Those states are now toss-up states. For what reason? Well, if you go back to the 2018 midterm elections, there's an interesting map that I'm not going to have right now. I'm going to be analyzing it further in a different video where it discusses the 2020 electoral map based purely off of popular vote turnout. The popular vote in the House elections in 2018. And North Carolina, disregarding the 3rd district, would overall be a Democratic state. So that's where they got those numbers from. I understand the argument a little bit more for states like Georgia, Texas, and Arizona. Arizona just recently elected its first Democratic senator in a very long time to the United States Senate. Their first woman senator, Kyrsten Sinema, won there by 1.7%. The state of Georgia itself had a very narrow governor race decided by around 2%, which is exactly what the polls predicted. Which is very surprising to me considering it's always been 2% for Brian Kemp, 2% for Stacey Abrams, or just a pure tie. Really never deviated from that 2% for either political candidate. And Texas came very close for Beto O'Rourke. Every single gain for the GOP, except for the state of Florida, was a larger margin than the state of Texas in terms of the Senate. Texas was closer than 3 states with Democratic incumbents. So keep in mind, this is Ted Cruz. He ran for president from the state of Texas, overwhelmingly won the primary here, but somehow he did very, very bad in the Senate election compared to what he could be doing. You look back at 2012, his first election, he did very well compared to how he did now. Yes, Beto O'Rourke was a new type of candidate, but how many other new type of Democrats are there out there? There are many of them. They may not just be running in states like Texas. They could be like Arizona with Kyrsten Sinema. She was a new type of Democrat. Stacey Abrams was not really that new, but she was able to inspire newer voters to come out and actually vote, which is why states like Georgia, Texas, and Arizona are now toss-up states. And first of all, I do not personally agree that these states are just pure toss-ups. There are other states right now characterized that I think should be more in favor of the respective political parties. For example, the state of Virginia, I expect that one to be a likely state from here on out. Northern Virginia has really taken a turn, just went over to the left drastically. And we're looking at the state time after time again, 2016, 2017, and now 2018, where Democrats have made consistent gains in all of these, in this state specifically. It's very hard to make an argument as to how the GOP can fully recover, even if they did win the state by double digits in previous elections. So keep in mind, recent history shows that this state is a very Democratic state. It's going to be very hard to actually pull that away from the Democrats, especially looking at our current landscape, especially with someone like Donald Trump in the presidential seat. Going over to the state of Colorado, that one could probably stay in the lean column against a generic Democrat. There are bad Democrats, there are good Democrats. On it for a good Democrat, it'd probably be likely, but Virginia is probably going to stay likely regardless of who the Democrat is, unless it's someone like let's say Nancy Pelosi, who probably isn't going to run in 2020 unless she loses the speakership. But again, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. The state of Nevada itself, I'm actually going to move that one to the pure toss-up column. Yes, it has gone for Democrats in 2016, the Senate race, and then the presidential race, and now the governor race, and another Senate race where they made a pickup by winning it by 5%. That was very surprising to me, but I don't expect this one to be a lean Democratic state, considering that there are many Democrats who could lose the state of Nevada and many Democrats who could really capitalize on the state of Nevada. The real even area is just around pure toss-up, considering that the state fluctuates depending on the national mood pretty drastically. So state of Nevada goes to the toss-up column, the first toss-up state of the evening. New Mexico, I'm actually going to move down into the likely column. I don't really see the state as purely just a safe state. I'm not going to expect a 15-point margin for a Democrat in a toss-up state. Yes, it has gone different ways. It went for Clinton by 9%, but still, right now that one could probably peak into plus 13, plus 14. But right now we're probably not going to see a 15-point margin for the rest of these states. Other states, you could argue states like Connecticut or Oregon or Washington, these are Democratic states, but sometimes do go down below 15%. But with this strong hatred for the president in a number of these Democratic states, it's going to be very hard to make a clear conclusion as to how he can do well in a presidential race. Yes, they could do well in governor races for Republicans or Senate races maybe, but it's going to be very hard, especially with the president at such a low approval rating in all of those states, to make a clear argument as to how he can actually do better than 2016. In a number of these states, considering his approval has gone down in all of them. His voting base has gone down as well. That leaves, again, 171 pure electoral votes. So Ohio and Iowa, actually, I'm going to keep the same. I'm not going to move those ones into the toss-up column or the likely Republican column because those are pretty much, I guess, perfectly evaluated. They are well-deserving Republican states. Donald Trump did phenomenal in those states. 2018 was no big thing for the Democrats other than a couple House races in, Iowa. And even then, it still doesn't make the argument that Democrats are doing drastically better. They lost to someone who was an incumbent who had never won an election before, even though Democrats were expected to win there. They did pretty well in the Senate race, considering Trump won here, nearing double digits in 2016, but it was expected to be a much larger margin. So Republicans are pretty much underestimated, I guess, in the state of Ohio. But overall, these states still holding on to their Republican identity in governor elections. No reason why they shouldn't with the president, even though they may not approve of him as much as they did back in 2016. Still going to be lean GOP states. Another lean GOP state is actually the state of Texas and Georgia and North Carolina. These three states individually, they haven't voted for Democrats recently. North Carolina, 2008, and before that, 1976. Texas, 1976. The state of Georgia, 1992 under Bill Clinton. And then looking at this map itself, it's going to be very hard to make a clear conclusion as to how this state could be a pure toss-up state. Yes, they have shown tendencies to go a little bit more in favor of the Democratic Party in previous elections. However, Democrats haven't won here. North Carolina, yes, they have a Democratic governor who won in 2016, but Donald Trump was able to win on the same ballot. Texas, sure, Ted Cruz's margin wasn't too good for the GOP, but it doesn't mean it's a pure toss-up state, especially going against a generic Democrat. It really depends on the candidates, and the only one that I really could see it becoming a pure toss-up and Donald Trump maybe narrowly edging out Beto O'Rourke. That's probably the only one I could name at this point, or maybe Julian Castro. Georgia itself, Stacey Abrams did, again, pretty well in that state. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't a win, which means that this state still holds on to its Republican identity. They are still capping off at that 48% mark, whether it be House elections, again, like in 2018, or it's a governor election or Senate election. Democrats typically cap off around 48-49%. It's very hard for them to actually win here, and if they do win, it's by plurality. So Georgia goes for a presidential race. Georgia goes in favor of Donald Trump. Along with North Carolina and Texas. Arizona, I'm actually going to even move into the pure toss-up column. Donald Trump won here by around 4%, but then it went to a Democrat in the Senate race. Really, again, it depends on the candidates, but I think the around even area would be a pure toss-up state. Minnesota, I would characterize that one as a lean Democratic state, along with the state of Pennsylvania, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. So the reason why Pennsylvania is a lean Democratic state, states like Minnesota and Pennsylvania. Yes, Pennsylvania did go to Trump in 2016. Keep in mind it's had its Democratic identity for a very long time. And yes, Donald Trump was able to break through that barrier, but then 2018 rolls around, numerous pickups in the House, hold in the governor race, hold in the Senate, and it wasn't just Pennsylvania. We saw it in Michigan, we saw it in Wisconsin, and we saw it in Minnesota. With 2 Senate elections, 1 governor elections, and yes, the Democratic Party did lose a couple seats from Minnesota, but they also gained some in Pennsylvania. They didn't gain any in Wisconsin, but they gained some in Michigan. They gained a governor race in the state of Wisconsin. They gained a governor race in the state of Michigan. So it went from the GOP doing very well in statewide elections to not really. And that's something that's really going to hurt the president when it comes into 2020. Looking at this map, Democrats are now at the advantage in those Rust Belt states. Based off exit polling data, he has lost a consistent amount of his base. And Pennsylvania wasn't like Ohio. It didn't narrow down on election day at all. It was the very same consistent margin the polls were suggesting, especially in the governor race, where it was a pretty drastic margin. So right now, Pennsylvania goes into the Democratic column. Michigan and Wisconsin, I'm actually going to even move into the pure toss-up column. Again, it's very hard to make a clear conclusion for these states. Pennsylvania probably showing the best for Democrats out of the rest of them, but that's why those states are going into the pure toss-up column. As for the state of Nebraska with its 2nd district, I'm going to put that one in the lean GOP column. With the state of Maine, I'm going to put that one in the pure toss-up column because, again, it really depends on the candidates in this state. The state of New Hampshire, I'm going to put that one in the lean Democratic column, considering they were able to win it back in 2016, even though Clinton lost. There are a number of other states. And the state of Florida, Right now, we're going to put that one in the pure toss-up column, especially with 1.5 more, I guess, millions of voters added to, or if they do choose to vote, added to the voter rolls. Right now, the state of Florida really could make a drastic turn from where it went back in 2018 in the Senate and governor race, especially with these elections being decided by 0.4% in the governor race, 0.2% in the Senate race. Again, these margins matter and the numbers matter, and any type of influence for either political party really could help them drastically for an election like 2020. Because if Florida goes to the GOP, Trump gets up closer than the Democrats. Or if the Democrats win here, they already win the election. So, and they don't need to win any of those other toss-up states. So right now, looking at this map, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, and Maine 2nd District are pure toss-ups. Democrats doing a little bit better than 2016, but again, a lot can change 2 years from now. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.